saying, all right, so we're looking for, to bring in some private sector players into this. You have been talking about it publicly, and you have some thoughts on this. What are those thoughts?
I think before we went on break, probably before we get to the port issue, there was an issue that I was asked about. If you don't mind, I just want to take you back a bit.
Yes.
On the issue of the Mtongwe, because this is an issue that I raised from when I was a member of parliament of Mvita, and I was the chair of the Public Investment Committee. This is an issue that I am aware the current member of parliament has really been crying about. This is the crossing from Mtongwe
to Liwatoni.
To Liwatoni.
Yes.
One, there used to be a ferry service there. It's been a disaster because one fine morning it works, then after that it doesn't work. Now, what has happened, the net effect of that is all the properties on the other side, the Mtongwe side, have totally depreciated because the accessibility. Accessibility is just not there. Yeah. So the second thing that happened, then they put in the floating bridge, which, by the way, was a big problem, but it also helped the people from those sides. Right now, being informed that they've shelved off that particular. I stand to be corrected. You might want to check with the relevant department whether they have permanently shelved it off. But as it stands right now, there is no floating bridge.
What do you mean?
The floating bridge was there at certain hours. And the reason for it being there at certain hours was to try and decongest the main ferry.
Yeah.
So you do that at certain hours, and I'm told that right now they looked at the ships that want to come in. And whenever the ships come in, because the floating bridge is there, the ships have to be in abeyance.
Yeah.
They have to be
so
outside.
they held back for a while.
Exactly.
But Your Excellency, what's new? The ships were there when they were putting the floating bridge.
That is true.
Has the volume of ships increased to the point where...
Actually, no, it hasn't. The volume of ships is actually reduced. But
so are you saying, Governor, that Liwatoni bridge is not in operation this morning as we speak?
No, it's not.
Can we revisit what
I was in Mtongwe. I was in Mtongwe 2 days ago. 2 days ago, someone who was close to me, someone who endorsed my campaign, passed away, and for me, because I had a meeting in my office, water transport is one of the best things that can ever happen to Mombasa. That's why we've advertised for water transport systems. And I had to go for the burial. Muslims bury instantly. So the person died and he had to be buried the same day. I had a meeting in my office, and my meeting took me till about around 12:30. The easiest way for me to get to Mtongwe was to go by sea. Now, as governor, I mean, I was given access. You can be able to go by sea. But you can imagine if otherwise, it would have taken me, because of waiting for the ferry and everything else, and going the whole round around Mtongwe. It would probably taken me like about 45 minutes or so. This is a trip that took me like about from my office all the way to Mtongwe. I reached there in about 6 to 7 minutes. But even then, local entrepreneurs who own their own small boats, they came and approached me when I was there, and they said, Governor, they closed this, but in the process of closing this, we used to be allowed to ferry people.
But what is the reason for the closure? This is the question. What was the reason for the closure?
What I'm being told, and I think this is best suited to be asked to the relevant guys who actually closed it. But I'm being told that the reason why they closed it was because of the fact that the waiting ship for time, that the ships were waiting was a bit too long.
Governor, maybe you want to come. That's poppycock. I mean, there were ships before, there are ships now. But let's move on.
When the whole thing was being designed initially,
there were ships.
At the design at that point,
by the way,
was the reason why they had it put in the first place?
But by the way, it's not even that alone. You need to consider as well taxpayers' money was put into.
Sure.
Two, you need to also take into consideration that the taxpayers' money built a brand new ramp.
Yep.
There's a whole new landing ramp that was put up.
And people benefited from this, didn't they?
Yes, big time. In fact, I remember I was still a member of parliament, and the then member of parliament, and we raised this when I was the chair of the public investment. The ferry operated. I was there on the maiden trip, and then after that, they just stopped the ferry services.
Okay.
Back to the question then. The port.
Right. Can I take this back a bit to history?
Yes.
I remember when I was a member of parliament, beautiful thing about Hansard, it'll never ever be erased, especially now when we're in digital eras. I was in Azimio. My party leader was and still is Raila Amolo Odinga. He was close to Uhuru. Uhuru is someone that I knew, and I know on a personal level way before I got into politics. He's someone who supported me as well for my election bid. But there's some things that I stood on principle. And when they tried to bring in the issue of giving out CT2, it is yours truly who brought an amendment on the floor of the National Assembly. An amendment that I had to master the numbers in Parliament against all odds, and I won. I actually won in Parliament. This same amendment had to pass through the Senate, and I won. So mine was not rhetoric and just talking on public platforms. I literally won. And what I won was that no single person who owns shipping line should be able to run a terminal, because that was the whole idea that wanted to be done. The law returned back with presidential reservations. And what that means is that you need to garner, if you want to overturn a presidential reservation and commence, you need to garner not a simple majority, but almost 75% of all parliamentarians to vote against the president, which I failed to do at that time. But I mean, I oppose this and I oppose this.
Your conscience was clear.
And until today it is. For a long time, we have been talking about what does Mombasa stand to benefit from having a port. Hear me out.
Okay.
You say Mombasa, you mean the county?
Yes.
Okay.
Hear me out. Go through the whole world, all port cities in the world. I've sat down and I've talked to mayors from all over the world who own these, who have ports. The city is interconnected to the port.
Yes.
In other parts, you've got even directorship levels where someone from the city, by the way, that used to be the case during municipal times, where a municipal person from the municipal was also sitting in the board of KPA. It used to be that way. And then things changed. Eventually, Mombasa was totally wiped out. So there's been this conversation of, can Mombasa be able to benefit? And by the way, again, I've seen some other people saying that, if that is going to be the case, then what about the airport? Someone who owns the airport here will say this and this and this. But, you need to go with what is best practice in the whole world. The practice in the world, and there's a reason why. The port cannot be there in seclusion. It is intertwined, interconnected. There's social degradation that comes in with having a port in any city in the world, in any port city. There's always that social degradation. There's cultural degradation. This is the price. There's infrastructure degradation. You go to Miami, you go to Antwerp, you go to Rotterdam, you go to any of these, you go to some of the most advanced countries in the world, the port city will either have shares, will either be the owner of the port. And what we simply said, this narrative has been there. It's been politically used. And it's time now to say that enough of politics. If we truly want to get this done in the right way, there is a natural resource that is there in Mombasa. What are the people of Mombasa standing to benefit? Over and above all the other factors that I've talked about, the negative element to it. If we don't put in our word now, and if we don't have our stake in now, please tell me, once, whether it is going to be an Arab, a Chinese, an American, or whoever else is going to take over, please tell me, what are the chances of Mombasa ever being kept on the table? If you don't do it now, when the players are two, national government and county government, please explain to me,
when there's a third player,
who has an international binding contract.
And how do you see this playing out?
By the way, I've seen this. I mean, look at the headlines right now. Government has denied claims of privatization. I mean, if there's one station that go to the issue of proverbs, if any one of you right now just go to Google and type the word concession, and you tell me what that means. Just type on your own. Eric, why don't you?
I'm doing that as we speak.
And you'll see one of the definitions of concession is to give up.
Concede.
Is to concede.
Concession, a thing that's granted especially in response to demands. The government was unwilling to make any further concessions. Or second one, a preferential allowance or rate given by an organization, tax concession. Simple concession, something allowed or given up, often in order to end a disagreement or the act of allowing or giving up something.
To concede is to give up. But anyway, that's not even the issue. You know, I want it to be on record. When I speak, and I'm truly blessed. I'm blessed enough that I'm not saying all, but a majority of the leadership within the area, we speak in the same voice. Not a simple majority, but a proper majority. We speak on the same voice. None of us is denying growth. Hear me out. Not a single one of us is saying that we are denying growth. Not a single one of us is saying that we are denying positivity. Not a single one of us is saying that, whatever is being brought is something that we're just, bashing for without a reason. The port, the economy of Mombasa, the livelihood of the people of Mombasa. You've got from the transporters to everyone else, everything is one way or the other aligned to the port. When the previous government, and you have to say it as it is, when they shut down operations, it had a major impact on the local economy, which right now till today people are still trying to recover from. When you make decisions that are going to hamper one way or the other, question you need to ask yourself, were we making losses as a port? No. Has there been a feasibility that has been done? I've not seen one to indicate that you're actually going to be getting more.
That there is so just to make sure that I get you right, are you opposed to the idea of bringing in a private operator and giving them a concession to run the port of Mombasa?
I am opposed to the idea of bringing in someone without knowing what that person is coming to do. No one here, and you guys are in the media. I can assure you, even your colleagues who are in investigative journalism right now do not know the details.
So the concern you
ask,
have is not the concept of concession.
No one at all is denying growth. I've said this not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times. I've said this as well to the relevant people. But what I am against, from the time of my father, people have been talking that the port needs to benefit the people of Mombasa. Hear me out. Then after that, we had in continuous members of parliament, there was no governor's position. This is a conversation that was there during the time of Hassan Ali Joho. It will not be on record that during the time of Abdul Samad Sharif Nassir is the one he kept quiet. Na mambo ikaenda, na baada ikaenda, what is going to happen? No one is going to sign a concession agreement for less than 40 years. These guys are going to put in their money. They're going to try and revamp a few issues. I'm assuming that is what is going to happen. So no one is going to come up with a concession for less than 40 years. And I'm giving that on a minimum level. That means my 10 years has to pass. The next governor who's going to come after me is going to say that, you see, that guy never said anything. If it was me, I would have truly fought for it. So that's another governor after me. Then the third governor after me is going to come and say, if that first governor after, the guy called Nassir, probably I'm way 6 feet under, hopefully at a better place. But someone's going to say the same thing. Then now a fourth one is going to come and say the same thing. Then the political circle is going to come after the fifth one who pops up and says, I will do what Abdul Samad never did. Yeah, So my argument here is, and this, by the way, is not just mine alone, is the argument of the whole political leadership, that we've been having this conversation. It's high time. And you don't even have to give me an equation that tells me that Mombasa is going to benefit by trillions and trillions and trillions. But get us a foot in so that when I'm finished with my 10 years, the one who comes after me after 10 years renegotiates and gets something that is going to be better. The one who's going to come after that,
Governor, of what exactly you want.
What we need to know, what is the stake of Mombasa in this whole thing.
And when you say stake, sorry, Governor, when you say stake, essentially we're talking about how the people of Mombasa County are going to benefit from any project here that is concerning the port. If there's going to be a privatization of the operationalization of the port, the people of Mombasa must benefit. Is that what you mean by stake?
It's not even just benefiting alone. We also need to know what are going to be the effects. What happens when these people who are given these services to do, and they say that, you know what, ours is going to be simple, as long as the goods are going to come in here, whoever uses our particular terminal is going to go straight to the SGR, the people of Mombasa, nyinyi munaiona port kwa nje peke yake. What happens when all these things are going to happen,
So what do you want then? You want a seat at the negotiating table?
What we want is to be told right now, I'm not even going to ask for a seat on the negotiating table, because you negotiate on an informed perspective. When you're not informed of what is currently going on. The first thing, by the way, when all this happened, I called in the members of parliament and I said, gentlemen, why don't you just, spruce up yourselves, what's happening? How can you let, and they told me, Governor, we thought you've been informed. We're not aware. And then I asked, but has there been any form of public participation? There was none. So you go on a negotiating table, having been on an informed
from a point of information.
Yes. Right now, there is totally none. And our argument, when I came in into office, I came up with a suggested law. And by the way, I passed it through all levels of public participation. When I say all levels, I mean including the taxpayers. To the extent that every single one of those people who are meant to pay literally said, Governor, we have faith in you, and it's minuted, and they're the ones who are paying, like the ones who've got the cargo and everything. They're the ones who are paying. They said, we're going to pay you $10 for every container that comes in. We have faith in you. We had the largest importers of loose cargo. Came to my office. We did a proper public participation. We negotiated figures. Car dealers, the association came to my office. We sat down. You know, a proper, and we said $10 for every container that comes in. So we can be able, because there's infrastructure damage that is always brought. There's so much that is done. And then, of course, national government, threw a spanner in the works. The Ministry of Transport said, no, this cannot be. It's unconstitutional. Despite the fact that the people who were meant to pay actually said, yes, we will pay. You know, forget about these issues of taxes being shoved down the throat. There are better ways. You liquidate and you grease people with incentives of what it is that you're going to do. And it went to the Attorney General, it went to the CS Finance. I was even threatened that, you know, we will shut down all your funding that is part of your equitable share and everything. And all this is in writing. And I said, you know what, I truly did not get into this job. I fought my battles when I was a member of parliament for 10 years. Right now, I want to deliver. I really don't want to fight. And that's the reason why you'll never, ever see me going out and shouting down at people or anything like that. I prefer being someone who is going to come up with solutions. That came to pass. I listened to all that. Has conversation been there? Verbal conversation has always been there. With everyone from all these departments and stakeholders. That yes, Governor, you're right. Yes, you're right. This is what happens all over the world. Yes, you're right. There is infrastructure. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. But Waswahili wanasema hakuna anayeandika na mate kama kuna wino. You need to show me not your spit and saliva to write. You need to show me the ink and the pen. You know.
Excellency, can I ask you a question? There is a bill that was before the Senate, the Natural Resources Sharing Bill of 2022.
I think that was a private member's bill. It was not. It was not a government-sponsored bill. I looked at the bill.
Did it capture some of the things that you're saying here?
It actually did. But truth be told,
yes,
I don't think this government would even consider assenting to that. You can tell by trends. You can tell by how trends are.
Because if that bill did what bills are supposed to do and eventually became an act, then it would mean it's not just the port, it's every natural resource that this country has.
But you know, sometimes you tend to wonder what is the big issue. I mean, and by the way, I called them to congratulate them. My brother Mwadime managed. This is something that I fought with him when we were both members of parliament for Taita Taveta to be able to get a say and something from the park.
Yes.
Why? I mean, this is a guy who every single day, I remember we were both members of parliament, I would feel for him because every single day he'd come up with motions and statements and petitions and all sorts of things, the way animals are hurting the livelihood of his people, from endangering lives to killing to destroying of crops and all that. And the president came up with a resolution. He said, look, people need to share this kind of things. Same thing happened in Narok.
But you see, Mheshimiwa, the natural resource that Taita Taveta has in terms of minerals is vast.
I think the issue of the one for the minerals, there is already an act on that, and I believe it is It is at very, very advanced stages. In fact, they've been collecting royalties. National government has been collecting royalties. Right now, they're in the process of actually dispersing those royalties back. And the law is very clear what the county government is meant to take. And the law is equally very clear what various stakeholders amongst the community are meant to be able to get. So that the issue of minerals has been taken care of. There's actually an act on that. I'm aware of this because this was passed during my time as a member of parliament, and I'm equally aware of the status because it is something that was brought up in IBEC as well. But this one for the port, all we're saying is we need to be, we cannot be using this as a political terminology every single year, And what we're saying is, if we don't get a foot in now,
that's it.
That's it.
For at least 50 years.
Exactly. Because whoever is going to come in and be a person who is going to be the one who's been given that concession. And again, when you say privatization, means you're selling it off.
Sure.
When you're saying concession, means that you're giving a lease.
A lease.
So,
which is which?
You've got a freehold and you've got
a leasehold.
A leasehold. And by the way, I'm repeating again. I'm repeating again and again. And I speak on behalf of a majority, not just a simple majority, a proper majority of the leadership, not just within Mombasa alone, but from the region as well. They speak the same language. I might not speak on their behalf right now, but the language being spoken is the same. And what we are simply saying is, what is our stake in the whole of this?
That's a greater question. One of the things you weighed into just recently, because I know our time is running down, you did weigh in and think, we heard your sentiments where you feel that Raila Odinga should run again in 2027 for the presidency. Why do you feel that? And what triggered that sentiment?
I think you need to do a poll on that. I wouldn't even want to get into that conversation much right now, because we're going to be speaking about Raila, and giving him 2 minutes is actually not fair on the man. But what I would do is I would ask Spice FM just to put up a small poll, an online or whatever poll that you're going to do, and ask, should Raila run again for presidency in 2027? And I'm sure a number of them will be in agreement with me.
In time, we'll ask that question. Governor, thank you very much for joining us. This conversation has just begun. This one on the port, we will keep engaging with you and the other leaders to hear whether there is any form of response that you're getting. Asante.
Thank you very much.
No, this time it's not going to be after